Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, you're welcome to Sew with me Diva. And if you're a returning subscriber or a returning viewer, thank you for sticking to my channel. So in today's video, I'll be showing you guys how to make a simple milkmaid dress with elastic band. So the major focus of this tutorial is the upper part of the dress, so you can decide to do anything you want with the lower part, and this is what the back of the dress looks like. So if this is something you are interested in, make sure to keep watching and make sure you watch till the end. And if you find this video useful, if you find it helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, and also share to your loved ones. So for this dress, I made use of 3 yards of African print fabric, but if you want yours exactly like the one on the thumbnail, you're going to need about 4 to 4.5 yards because of the lower part. It's a half circle. So we're going to start with the back of this dress. Let's go ahead to fold the fabric. So we're starting with the back, and I'm going to head to cut out the fabric. It is in a fold of 2. So the upper part of this dress is going to be from your shoulder to your half length. So the first thing to do is to draw out a starting line at the upper part of the fabric this way, and then since this dress is in the form of an off-shoulder dress, I'm going to place my tape rule 6 inches above that starting line to mark the half length measurement. So my shoulder to my half length is 16 inches, and then the remaining half an inch is to join to the lower part of this dress. So the back is going to have a zipper allowance of 1.5 inches, which I have marked towards the closed angle, and then the remaining part is 13 inches. So my round bust measurement divided by 4 is 11 inches, and the remaining 2 inches is going to be for my seam allowance. So to mark the vertical measurement you're still going to place your tape rule 6 inches above the starting line, and the first measurement is going to be from your shoulder to your armhole measurement. So my shoulder to my armhole is 8 inches, and then the next measurement is going to be from your shoulder to your bust point, which is 11 inches, and then from my shoulder to my half length is 16 inches. So go ahead to insert your own vertical measurement and extend the lines this way. So the first line here is the armhole line, which is the chest line. The second line is the bust point, and the third line I have here is the half length. So the next thing to do is to place the dart. So starting from the zipper allowance, I'm going to come in by 4 inches, which is my nipple to nipple measurements divided by 2. So I have 4 inches. I'm going to mark it and then connect it all the way to the armhole line this way. And on both sides of the line, I'll take in half an inch and then connect that half an inch all the way up this way. So the next thing to do is to place the round body measurement. So on the bust line, I'll place my round bust measurements divided by 4, and then I'll add this half an inch for that, making 11 inches, and 1 inch for seam allowance, making 12 inches. I'll mark the same 12 inches on the armhole line and connect the points together. And on the half length line, my round waist measurements divided by 4 is 9 inches. I'll add 1 inch for that, making 10 inches, and 1 inch for seam allowance, making 11 inches. So go ahead to mark your own appropriate measurements and then connect the points together this way. So after connecting, this is what you should have. The next thing is to mark the off-shoulder measurement. So to get the off-shoulder measurement, go ahead to measure your shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2. Mine is 8 inches, and I'm going to subtract 2 inches from that 8 inches to make 6 inches. So I'm going to mark 6.5 inches, half an inch to attach to the sleeve, and then connect it all the way to the armhole line to create the armhole curve this way. So I'm going to leave the back straight. You can decide to make yours a bit curved at the center back. So let's go ahead to cut it out. So after cutting out, I'm going to eliminate 0.5 inches from the zipper allowance to avoid any form of zipper bulging. So from the closed angle, I'll come in by 0.5 inches, half of an inch, and then extend it all the way to the center back this way. So go ahead to cut it out. Another thing I do to make the back of my dress fit perfectly is to come up by 1 inch at that half length line and also blend it in, and then go ahead to cut it out just like this. So after that, you can see I have 2 pieces of the back. So let's go ahead to work on the front panel. So we're going to draft the front panel on the pattern paper before we transfer to the fabric. And paper is in a fold of 2. I went ahead to mark the starting line. So just like we did with the back, I placed my tape rule 6 inches above the starting line to my half length, So my shoulder to my half length is 16 inches plus half an inch for joining to the lower part. So I'm going to place it there now to mark the remaining vertical measurements. And the wideness of the paper I have on fold is 13 inches, which is my round bust measurements divided by 4 and 2 extra inches to it. So I'll place my tape rule 6 inches above the starting line now and take the vertical measurements. So my shoulder to my armhole is 8 inches, my shoulder to my bust point is 11 inches, my shoulder to my under bust is 14 inches, and the last line is the half length. So I'll go ahead to just extend the lines this way. So mark your own appropriate vertical measurement and then extend the lines this way. So after extending, I will just label the line so that I don't get confused. So this is the armhole line, the chest line, this is the bust points, the under bust and the half length. So this front part will not have any dart, so let's go ahead to place the round body measurement. And on the upper line, I'm going to mark the same 6.5 inches I used at the back. I'll come over now to the bust line and mark my round bust measurements divided by 4, which is 11 inches, and then I'll add 1 inch for seam allowance, making 12 inches. I'll mark that same 12 inches on this armhole line, also the chest line, and then I'll connect the points together. I'll use my curved ruler to just form my armhole all the way down this way. So on this under bust line, I'll mark my round under bust measurements divided by 4 and 1 inch for seam allowance. I got the same measurements with the waistline and I just connected the points together. So mark your own appropriate measurements and go ahead to connect it together. Blend in all the sharp edges this way. So this is basically all for the front part of this dress. Let's go ahead now to cut it out. So let's go ahead to cut it out. So after cutting out, to create that milkmaid effect on the chest area, I'm going to separate it from the under bust line. Let me cut out the excess. So I'm going to separate it from the under bust line. So when you open up, you're going to have something that looks like this. So this upper part is going to be the chest area. So let me show you guys how to cut it on the fabric. So to cut out the upper part on the fabric, I have my fabric in a fold of 2. So I'm going to place the pattern on it. I'm going to make sure the open angle of the paper is towards the open angle of my fabric this way, so that the front part of my dress will not be so bulky. I just added extra 10 inches to what I have initially, so that extra is going to just create that gather effect that I want in front, the milkmaid effect. And I left some space at the upper part for the elastic casing. You need about 2 inches at the upper part for the elastic casing. So I'm going to use my pin to hold down my paper to the fabric this way, and then I'll get my tape rule and just come up by 2 inches. This 2 inches is going to be for the elastic casing, and mark it this way. Just follow what I'm doing. I'll add half an inch to the armhole area, and then I'll go ahead to extend the line all the way to the closed angle of the fabric, and then I'll cut it out. So make sure you don't add more than 12 inches extra to what you have on the front panel, so that it doesn't appear too bulky on the chest area. After cutting out, I'll go ahead to separate the pattern paper from the fabric and then open it up for you guys to see. So when I open it up, you can see how wide it looks. So by the time we gather it and insert the elastic, it is going to give us that milkmaid effect in front. So I'll cut out the band and cut out lining for it. So I've gone ahead to use my pattern to cut out the remaining part of the front panel, and this is what we have. So I cut out 2 pieces of it because I want to use the same fabric as my lining. So I'm going to separate it now and open it up. So when you open it up, you'll have something that looks like this. So before we join the 2 pieces together, I'm going to take the elastic casing. I'm going to fold in the elastic casing at the upper part of the fabric. So remember, we added 2 inches to the upper part of the fabric when cutting out. So I'm going to fold in that 2 inches into 2 this way, and then go ahead to stitch it all the way down to create my elastic casing. You can use your pins to hold it down before you stitch. So after I am done creating the elastic casing, I'm going to join this upper part to the band, the lower part. So the first thing to do is to fold it into 2 equal parts. Fold it into 2 equal parts this way to get the center point. Then I'll just notch it, and then I'll fold the band as well. This is just one piece of the band, and then I'll notch it. So right now I'm going to merge the notched points together I'll use my pins to hold the notched areas together this way, and then I'll take the edge of the fabric and also use my pin to hold it to the other edge. Then I'll gather the remaining part of the fabric into it. So use your pin to hold this edge down and then gather the remaining part of the fabric. When I'm done, I will do the same thing on the other side. Starting from the center, I will gather the fabric into the waistband this way and stitch it all the way down. So while you are joining the pieces together, you are going to create the gathers. When I'm done, I'll show you guys. So after I stitch down the upper part to the band, this is what it looks like on the right side. And I folded in the elastic casing just like I explained earlier. So the next thing I'm going to do is to use the lining to turn it over. So I'm going to place this upper part this way, making sure the right sides are facing each other, and I'm going to take the right side of my band and place it on that allowance, that seam allowance this way. Then I'll go ahead to stitch it down on it. So after joining all three fabrics together, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after using the lining to turn over, this is what it looks like. And this is what the wrong side also looks like. So the next thing we want to do is to work on the back panel. So I have gone ahead to cut out lining pieces for the back. So I'll just separate it now and open it up. So we're going to turn it over now with our lining. So I'll place the lining on it, and then I'll go ahead to stitch the upper part using 1/2 inch. I'll stitch the zipper area and also stitch the side. I'll repeat the same thing, making sure the lining and the fabric are facing each other on the right side. So I'll do this for the other side. I'll turn it over and show you guys next. So after I turned over the back panels with the lining, this is what it looks like, and I also ironed it out. The next thing we want to do is to take in the dart on the wrong side. So I have notched the dart points, so I'm going to just mark where I want my dart to stop on the wrong side. So I'm going to fold the notched parts. I'll fold it this way and then go ahead to stitch it all the way up to the point where I want the dart to stop. Go ahead to stitch it all the way up, stitch it down. When I'm done, I'm going to repeat the same thing on this side. I'll fold in the notched point and stitch the dart all the way up. So when I'm done with that, I'll show you guys the next thing to do. So after I took in the dart, this is what it looks like on the wrong side. This is what we have. So the next thing we want to do is to join the front and the back panels together. So I'm going to bring the front now, and then I'll place my back panel on it, right sides facing each other. So using my 1-inch seam allowance, I'm going to join the sides together. I'll close it up all the way down. I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. I'll place them right sides facing each other, and then I will close off the sides all the way down. So when I am done doing that, I'll show you guys the next thing to do. So after I join the sides together, this is what it looks like in front. So the next thing we want to do is to work on the sleeve. So if you want your sleeve to look like the one on the thumbnail, you need a bigger fabric. But for mine, I'm just working with the fabric that I have. So the wideness of the fabric I have here is 10 inches, which I use my round armhole measurements divided by 2 plus 1 extra inch for the joining allowance. But if you want your cuff wider, you're going to need a bigger fabric for your sleeve. And then the length of my sleeve is 10 inches. I added 2 inches at the upper part for the elastic casing. I'll just go ahead to mark it out. And then I took the 10 inches for the sleeve length, and then the remaining 1.5 inches is going to be for the lower elastic casing. So to cut out the sleeve, I'm going to just place the armhole of the bodice, the upper bodice, towards the open angle of the fabric this way, making sure it is starting from that 2 inches allowance. And then I'll make sure I have some extra inches, like 1/2 inch, towards the open angle, and then trace out the shape of the armhole curve on it this way. So this is basically all for the sleeve. I'll go ahead to cut it out. So after cutting out, I'm going to notch the points where I have my elastic casing. So when you open it up, you're going to have 2 pieces of the sleeve this way. The first thing to do is to take in the elastic casing and stitch it closed. So I'll do the same thing for the lower part, but I'll leave about 1 inch gap opened because I'll be passing my elastic band through that point. And when I'm done taking in the elastic casing, I will close up the sides using the 1 inch allowance. When I'm done doing that for both sleeves, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after I took in the elastic casing at the upper part and the lower part, this is what it looks like. So I'm going to pass my elastic band through this space, and for the lower part I just left 1 inch opening. So to attach the sleeve to the dress, go ahead to open up the point where you join the sleeve and measure to the point where you join the bodice this way, and then use your pin to hold it down. After doing that, go ahead to fit in the sleeve into the armhole opening and stitch it down. If you have any excess, you can just pleat it. So make sure you leave the upper part opened. Don't join it together yet because you're going to pass your elastic band through that point before you stitch it down. So stitch it and leave the upper part opened. So I'll insert the other sleeve just the way I explained it. So when I'm done, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So guys, I've gone ahead to insert one of the sleeves, so I just want to pass in the elastic band for the front part before I insert the other sleeve. So while I was inserting the sleeve, I left this upper part opened, so I want to insert the elastic band first before I close it off. So this is the elastic band I'm using. So to get the length of elastic band to cut out, go ahead to measure your chest area just from one armhole to the other. So mine is 13 inches and I subtracted 3 inches from it, so my elastic band is 10 inches long. I'll insert it into my pin and just pass it in through that space into the elastic casing this way. So after passing into the other side, go ahead to stitch down the elastic band, stitch it down on the other side as well. So before I insert the sleeves, I'm also going to pass in their elastic bands and show you guys. So after inserting the elastic band to the chest area, this is what it looks like. You can see how beautiful it looks. So I still left this point open for both sides because I want to pass in the elastic band for the sleeve. This is the other side. So I'm going to pass the elastic band now. So I have about 6 inches. So you'll be needing about 6 to 7 inches length of elastic band for this upper sleeve. And I'm going to just pass it in through the casing all the way to the other side. So after passing in, I'm going to stitch it down and then I will close up this part this way. I'll do the same thing for the other side. When I'm done, I'll insert the elastic for the lower part. So to get the length of elastic, measure around your bicep and then subtract 4 inches. So after inserting the elastic band to the sleeve, this is what it looks like, and this is what the back looks like. So the final thing now is to work on the lower part of this dress. So if you look at the one on the thumbnail, the lower part is a half circle skirt, but the fabric I have here will not be enough for that. But if you have enough fabric, you can go ahead to fold the fabric to cut a half circle. So fold the fabric into 2 equal parts first this way, and then form a triangle this way. This is how to fold for your half circle. Then you divide your round waist measurement by 6.28, which is a constant. Whatever you got, you're going to place it on the fabric and then cut out the full length of the lower part. But for mine, I'm going to create gathers with my fabric, and I will measure what I have on the waistline and multiply by 2. So by multiplying by 2, I'm going to get the wideness of the fabric I need for my gathers. So I'll notch the fabric and also notch the center point of the upper bodice. So I folded the fabric for the gathers into 2 and notched the center point, and I did the same thing for the upper bodice. So I'm going to place the notched points facing each other, right sides facing each other this way. I'll merge the notched points together using my pin, and then I'll also merge the edge of the fabric to this other side this way. So by doing this, your gathers is going to be evenly spread out. You won't have one side looking fuller than the other. I'll use my pin to hold it down. So starting from the center points now, I'm going to just gather the fabric as I am joining to the upper part. Just go ahead to create gathers. So when I'm done with that, I'll come to the center point again and gather the remaining part of the fabric. Just go ahead and then stitch it all the way down. So when I'm done, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after creating the gathers on the lower part, this is what it looks like. So the next thing to do is to close up the back before we insert the zipper. So I'm going to fold up the dress this way, right sides facing each other, and I'll determine where I want my zipper to stop. So I'll come down by 16 inches because the zipper I'm working with is about 20 inches. So I'll stop at the 16 inches mark and then go ahead to just stitch down the 1.5 inches zipper allowance all the way down. So when I'm done with that, I'll also fold up the base twice and stitch it all around. When I'm done doing that, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after closing up the back, this is what it looks like. The last and final thing to do is to insert the zipper, and I also folded the base twice and stitched it all around. So this is the zipper I'll be working with, and I'm going to open it up. So after opening up, I'll take the zipper for this side, I'll turn it over this way, fold in the edge, and then stitch it on my 1.5 inches zipper allowance. You can go ahead to draw out a straight line so that you can follow that line while stitching. Stitch it into the zipper allowance on the inside. So when I'm done, I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. Flip the zipper this way, fold in the edge, and then stitch it all the way into the zipper allowance. Stitch it in. So you can use your pins to hold it down before stitching. So when I'm done doing that, I'll show you guys the finished product of this dress. So guys, after inserting the zipper, this is what it looks like. You can see how neat it came out, and this is the finished product of the dress, and this is where we'll be ending this video for today. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you learned something new. So don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, share to your loved ones, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.